Oh, hello there. Welcome back to Down the Donut Hole Zoo. I think it's going to be more of a zoo today. And it is also that Freak Friday thing.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about something called remote dreaming.
Does that mean that you dream when you're on vacation?
We'll find out.
No, it's when you lose the remote.
Hi, Des.
Oh, hi,
Everybody,
my gosh.
he's here with us
What
today.
a surprise.
You lose the remote and then you have a dream that you find it, but it's still lost.
Yeah.
So we understand you're kind of dreaming, I guess, already.
Yeah. But I want you to know that I'm completely relaxed after hearing yesterday's episode.
Oh,
and
good.
I'm completely prepared. I would never do one of these shows without being completely prepared.
Shut up, Des. This is a little inside war, but I'm going to share it with everybody.
Oh, I'm sure that our super fans will remember that our very first Freak Day also was about dreaming.
Lucid
Lucid
dreaming.
dreaming. yeah.
Yes.
And so there's a reason why we're sort of doing
Revisiting.
part 2 of that.
Yeah.
Because of what? Drum roll.
Hey, tell it, Des.
Hang on. Oh, I can't drum since the incident.
He's looking at his notes.
Yeah. It's, what is this, episode 50, right?
Yeah, this is it. We did
Congratulations.
50 episodes. And that is counting the first 3
So
that
it's
were
kind of a party a little bit too.
odd timed. But yeah, we're really happy. 50 episodes. When we first started, we were going episode by episode and trying to decide whether we were going to keep it going or not. And then we said, well, let's do 10 and see how it goes. And then, that gets extended and extended. And I think it's really a good metaphor for life because a lot of stuff that we think we're going to do short term, that turns out to be a lot longer.
Oh, God.
What do you mean by that? Tell us, Jess.
No, I'm just saying. It depends on what what you're thinking of, I guess, is your point of view on things.
Yeah, it can be great or it can be a strain, but
The irony of waking up to do a show about dreaming.
that's right.
Well, you have to because it's still fresh in your memory,
Well, now, today is Friday. If you dream of something on Friday night, you don't tell it on a Saturday if you want that dream to come true. So that's a superstition about Friday
I was
night
gonna
dreams.
say, I need to see the research on that one.
Well, it's just a superstition, so who knows if it's true or not. We
That
can
is
pretty
kinda
much...
cool. Anybody can make up a superstition, I guess.
Yeah, I have other ones. I'll share those quickly before we get into the meat of the episode.
So
because-
dreaming related superstitions?
Sleep, dream, that sort of stuff. Here's one for you. If you are persistently, or someone in your household is persistently having trouble sleeping, which these days a lot of people are, instead of maybe looking for root causes of things that could be addressed or maybe influences from outside, i.e. nervous news,
Take some pills.
financial
no.
pressures. No, that's not it. You know what you really need to do?
That's cheating.
You need, according to superstition, you need to go through your house and make sure that nobody has hung a blackbird's right wing somewhere in your household. Because the old superstition was if you really wanted to create trouble for people that you didn't like or were mad at or something, that if you could do that, just hang a blackbird's right
It has
wing
to be
in their
the
house.
right wing?
Yes, of
Why?
course. Well, come on, you can't be haphazard about these sorts of things. It has to be
You gotta play
intentional.
by the rules.
Yeah,
It's conservative.
I didn't.
Conservative.
I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you. So you look for a right wing that somebody has secreted into your house to disturb your sleep as a way of getting back at you.
So the first thing I'd want to do would be to inspect it thoroughly to make sure it was a left wing. So how do you know the difference?
Put them together.
Yeah, but there's only one wing hanging, so...
Do you think that people actually had done that before?
I believe yes.
You think somebody's done that?
Yeah, because think about
People were
yourself,
bored.
how you do with superstitions. I mean, if you're walking down the street and there's a ladder there, I mean, maybe you, but I
What?
would not walk under it
Oh, I
because
would.
it would be unsafe. That would be my main motivation. But also just because the superstition, the admonitions against doing that sort of thing, I sort of have taken those on.
But see, you have to test that stuff. It's like science. You have to experiment to see what works and see if walking under a ladder, is that bad luck? Well, let's test it to see.
Yeah, but
How
if
else you
there's
gonna know?
a gallon of paint up on top of the ladder and you're wambling around underneath it, it isn't hard to tell that there might be some ensuing bad luck for
But see,
you.
that's the difference between science and religion.
Oh, there you go. Superstition testing laboratory. How about that?
Yeah. Well,
We'll start one of those.
there's pretty much nothing that we encounter in our everyday lives that doesn't have some superstition associated with it. And I like to toss them in, kind of like salt and pepper, on whatever topic we're talking about. Here's another one, and then I'll think of some more.
You had a dream about superstitions, didn't you?
This one, no. They say that you should try to position your bed so your head is north of your feet because it promotes longevity, for one thing, or to a point. There's other things that would be better than that, but that you will have a more restful sleep because you're following the magnetic lines of the earth. That's
No,
one
that,
thing.
that has
Now-
some science.
Yeah, I can't.
Does
do
it
that.
really?
I can't do that though,
Why?
Sure.
because my head is facing north, and I can't fold that way.
What?
Then,
What?
then you got to go to Australia, I think.
Oh. Or if you're having trouble sleeping, before you go to bed, there were not so much superstitions, but formulas that if you smoked red tobacco with a little, get this, powdered toad, and you mix in a little honey. So smoke that. Now, I don't know how you're going to be smoking honey. That seems like that's
Okay,
a
now-
recipe for goo in your
I
pipe.
think
I
you're
see.
slipping from superstition to witchcraft now, aren't you?
Hey, I found that in with some of my sources on superstition, and I just think it's so hilarious.
I would have to say it's the recipe is mostly powder, I guess.
Yeah, but powdered toad, that's not something you just come across at the grocery store.
No, you have to put a lot of effort into that one. A creepy effort.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fascinating though that like where all these superstitions come from. Some of them are so bizarre. But like your example about the ladder, that's a common one, and about like so somebody probably did that and paint fell on them, so they're just like
Yeah.
that's bad luck.
It is bad
But
luck.
like I
Yeah.
gotta smoke a.
Smoke a toad
Smoke a
and some
toad.
red tobacco.
I can't sleep. I better
Don't
smoke a
forget
toad.
the honey because otherwise it might have kind of a bitter aftertaste. So the honey would sweeten that up. I mean, there's superstitions about everything, I guess. I do know that if you intend to dream about something, like a future lover or something like that, that if you
That's
put
called fantasizing.
You mean like a robot?
well, no, if you put a key, they say, a key or a horseshoe under your pillow, that you may be able to see in your dream state who your future lover will be. So,
Okay, it's worth a try, I guess.
yeah.
Do you believe dreams?
What are you talking about? There better not be any dreaming of future lovers.
Oh, before I met you, of course.
What are all these keys
or,
doing?
or after my untimely
What are all
demise.
these keys doing under your pillow?
I'm checking tonight. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe you got to these books ahead of me. Who knows?
Well, you gave me a pillow in the shape of a horseshoe.
I did one of those neck pillows. Does it help?
Yeah, as long as it's not made out of iron, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sally will like it.
Hey, gentlemen.
I mean, oops.
That's only her nickname. I don't know any Sallys.
Of course you don't.
So do you have more superstitions on dreams? Are these
the
technically?
blade bone, like the shoulder bone, the shoulder blade bone, that will help you dream of a future lover too.
Are these considered superstitions?
Yes.
They are? Okay, so it's not just like bad luck stuff. It's
No.
also like,
Just ways you can prevent stuff or the ways you can encourage certain things that you would like to have happen, that sort of thing. So they say that
Like
if
I
you
say, though, I
dream
think
this,
that's called fantasizing.
no, not really. If you dream the same thing 3 nights in a row, it's generally believed that it will come true, and especially if you didn't talk about it. And apparently, talking about a dream reduces its chances of becoming reality.
That's like a wish, right? Like a birthday
Yeah.
wish or something like that.
Yeah. Also, in British tradition, you should never tell your dreams before you've eaten breakfast, or they may come true.
Yeah, but look what they eat for breakfast.
Oh, God, I love their breakfast.
That's what I meant.
For
Blood
those that
sausage.
don't know, they have sausage. They even have baked beans with their breakfast. They have grilled tomatoes, grilled mushrooms, potatoes. I mean, it's the kind of meal that will carry you the whole day. And I think it's brilliant. I really do. I think people should go back
However,
to
it will
big
shorten
breakfast.
your life.
Well, no, because you're going to work that off, and that was the point of those breakfasts.
That's
This
called the
idea of
full
people
fry-up.
being leisurely all day long, that is a new thing relatively. I mean, the people that were working in the mines or doing other jobs, on ships or on shore or fishing or something like that, they needed heavy sustenance, and so they would have those big breakfasts. And ooh, I love those; they're so delicious.
What about the blood sausage?
I love blood sausage. Black pudding, they call it, and it is black.
Wasn't that part
You
of your
wouldn't want
vampire
a lot
episode?
of it.
Wasn't that part of your vampire episode?
No, I didn't mention that. Anyway, so all of that. Now, when we talk about dreaming, because there is so much superstition about it, when we cross over to the idea of remote dreaming, or it's like remote viewing, but remote viewing, you're cognizant, you're awake, correct?
Yes, that's right. And you attempt to put yourself in a very meditative state.
Like
So
mindfulness?
you're purposefully trying to accomplish a specific goal or result when you're awake, for the most part. I mean, you can set some of these people who are really good at meditating can literally put themselves in sort of a semi-sleepy state.
Well, didn't we do a test one time with some sort of a headset that we wore that was measuring brainwaves?
Yeah, that's called an EEG, electroencephalogram.
Yeah, I did that once, but nothing came up.
No, but it's a nice place to store your loose change.
I think your problem was that you're supposed to put it on your head.
See, well,
See?
it still would have been 0 either way, I guess.
So that that thing we put on our head, was that an EEG?
Yeah, that was the electrodes.
It was like a headset.
Yeah.
It was like the ones we have on now. It looked like it
Yeah,
felt like.
and that sort of thing can help you, achieve certain brainwave states, and it gives you feedback. You remember the old term biofeedback? That was a big thing back in the
Yeah,
70s.
it's still a thing, especially for people with
It is
headaches
sort of,
or other things
yeah.
that are triggered.
And there are some more sophisticated tools and ones that are, accessible to the general public, like those back then were not, wires everywhere and
That little thing.
graphs that, actually were drawing with a little pen.
I remember those.
The early polygraph thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen those on the movies, but
They're still using them,
well, they're not admissible
Sometimes
as
our
evidence
government
anywhere.
employees have had to submit to those lie detector tests to make sure that they're not leaking information from inside the offices out to the press.
But then they always say those aren't admissible anywhere.
They're not.
So it's
so
like, what's the point?
Yeah, but I think it gives a level of comfort. Number one, if you're willing to take the test, that shows that you probably are not lying about whatever it is. But also, even though it might not be admissible in court, if the department head thinks that you might be slipping information to journalists or something like that, then they can have a little bit more comfort being around you if you've taken a lie detector test and it shows that you aren't lying?
I would never.
Even though it's proven it didn't work.
Yeah, I
But
would never take a lie detector test. If any company wanted me to take one to work for them, I wouldn't work for them.
Tell me why. What do you
'Cause I'm
have
a
to
liar.
hide?
Because I'm a liar.
No, I don't accept that.
You even failed the one that's just, what is your name?
Are you a liar? Yes. Proves you
Are you
are.
lying?
Yes. No, I don't know.
Are you lying now?
I don't know.
I've lost track.
Yeah.
But in an employment situation, of course, the your employer is its own court. So,
Yeah.
they can use it or not as they see
Yeah.
fit.
They don't need to give you a test. They can just decide if you're.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And that's probably more true these days than it has been in the past.
So
So with this remote viewing thing, so the idea then is a person achieves a quiet state of mind, and then they focus intentionally on something that they want to see.
So it's you're trying to dream about something.
You're trying to see things that you're not present to see, that are not in front of you physically.
Exactly.
And our government did a lot of
Yeah, like I
experiments.
said on the original episode about that, there's been a lot of studies from the government, and they have had results that were better than the placebo effect situation when they do drug trials. And so, they did have some positive result with it. It did, and it was passed off to some other branch of government after the initial studies were done.
Was it
for
DOD?
another 10 years? I don't remember exactly which branch it was, and it may not be a formal one either.
Okay,
One
so
of those dark op situations, maybe, but it was studied for another 10 years anyway.
so
And it was enough positive result from it to make it at least feasible. But then they gave up all of a sudden, or at least they said they did.
yeah, who knows? Give them a lie detector test.
But they would want to do that stuff for some kind of
Nefarious,
purpose, right? Yeah, right.
Some
kind of-
nefarious purpose.
just- this-
Intelligence gathering in a
Yeah, right.
in a non-standard way.
You mean spying?
Spying, okay. we all do it. Hey,
Hey, I don't.
with that, didn't Art Bell show with Heather, when Heather was on it, she had a guest on, and I don't remember who the guest was, but they had the listeners,
Oh, was it Geller, the junior?
not Yuri.
No, I think it might have been a relation or something. I don't remember, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they had the listeners. They gave. I forget what the focus was supposed to be, and then they asked people to draw or make like bullet points of what they saw when they achieved these states of mental focus. And it was surprising. Several people reported, having some of the impressions absolutely correct.
Yeah, and then another thing about trying to figure out where somebody is, to try to tune in on the environment that they're in. And some of those test subjects were supposed to be in some sort of situation, environmental area or whatever, that would be able to be described, fairly easily.
So for police, like finding a fugitive or something.
Yeah, they've used it for such things, and a few times very successfully. I mean, outrageously accurate, and
So beyond accident.
Yeah. So there does seem to be enough studies, certainly a couple of decades, and some very good high percentage numbers of success. That it does seem like there is something to that.
And don't they say that we're only using a very small fraction of our brains?
They say that to me.
Speak for yourself.
What's that supposed to mean? I don't.
We had two different takes on that one.
Yeah, neither one of them was very good, I don't think. So, if this remote dreaming thing is similar to, but not the same as remote viewing,
It's not quite the same, no. And
So is there intent? Do you have to think before you go to bed?
No,
Hey,
no.
I want to see where my boyfriend goes when he leaves me.
no, it's just to describe a related phenomenon. And for a while, way back when I liked, like I've said in the past, I liked neurology and I liked musing about such things. And for a while, maybe it's my high ego, I don't know, but I thought that maybe I came up with this idea. But no, it's a real thing. Some people describe it in different ways. But basically, I think the most popular way that they describe it is the phenomenon of being asleep, right? So you're dreaming normally, pretty much.
And you don't intend this when you go to bed.
You don't intend
This
it, no.
happens to you.
It
It's
just
not
happens.
something. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, some of the descriptions for it is that you are in two places at once. So you're either dreaming that you're in a certain place, in a certain situation, physically, so to speak, and then the other location that you are in, you're sort of just watching that happen on a screen, kind of. But I don't think it has to be limited to that description. And here was my thoughts on it, just for whatever it's worth. I think that it becomes incorporated in your dreams. So if you reach certain brainwave states
Gamma?
while you're no, gamma is fully awake and
Not gamma.
cognizant, yeah. But anyway, I think that when you dream, sometimes I think we've all had this experience, and if you say that neither one of you have, then I'll worry about myself more. But anyway,
You should.
yeah. So if you, in your dream sequence, let's say you're in a place that you just have no idea, you've never been there. There's two things, actually, both extremes. You've never been in this place that you're in, or it seems very strangely familiar to you somehow.
But you don't recognize it.
Right.
It's a place you actually have been.
Exactly. And then often those specifics of that dream will be recurring dreams often. And it's like so here's my idea about that. As you dream, you go through various states of brainwave activity and all that. And with my idea about your brain kind of tuning in to the grid, so to speak, you inadvertently in your sleep, sometimes your brain is tuning in on this same channel, if you want to look at it that way, that the remote viewers are trying to do. And you're picking up actual live information from another location and incorporating it into your dream. How about that?
So you are inadvertently also experiencing what a remote viewer is intentionally doing it. So
Yes, but it's random and by accident.
yeah. So you have no intent, but you are getting this image.
I'll have something like that happen once in a while if I fall asleep listening to some kind of, it could even be something as like a podcast or a movie review, and I fall asleep to it, and I'll have a dream, and I'll be like, wow, where did that was so random. And then I'll look at like what was playing when I fell asleep, and I'm like, oh, it must have incorporated something I heard subconsciously. Put that in there.
No, it may be that you're actually tuning in on a remote viewing channel, so to speak, and that is being incorporated into your dream sequence. And it seems to be, I think, more likely that you're picking up on the location and what's in the location, in the environment that's immediately around that you can see. And often it's in very high, sharp detail in your dream. And yet it's something that you have no place you've never been, and you just have nothing familiar in that environment you're dreaming about.
I often have dreams where I'm in some place that I know I've never been, but I feel like I know the place. So it's a bizarre thing.
That's another possibility. And, you'll seem like, well, I can't place where this place is, but it seems familiar to me. And that could be also that you have been in that same place in this remote dreaming idea, and you have incorporated it into your dreams before, but you forgot about it. So then the second time you tune into that actual channel,
Well,
then you think, oh, this seems familiar, because you did actually connect to that channel previously in one of your previous dreams.
And that's different than deja vu.
let me attempt to.
No, that could be part of it. Deja vu could
Let
be
me
a
attempt
part
to
of it.
ask something kind of interesting. I won't say intelligent, but
Duh.
would you say that your eyes record everything they see and stores all that in your brain?
No, I don't think so. It's I mean, as wonderful as the brain is, it's has only a certain amount of space, like a memory drive,
Yeah, but they say we don't use even a fraction of it.
The reason I
Again.
ask that is because
Never, I won't say it again.
I'm wondering if that's like if that's where a memory is. What a memory is something that was recorded, and you're playing it back in your brain.
Yeah.
And that would make me wonder if like I have memories of stuff from when I was 6 years old or earlier or whatever.
Yeah, I
And-
remember the first episode you talked about a yard sale or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of about the. So it's a question of like going to a place and being like, okay, this is familiar to me. Is it if your eyes are recording everything you see, that's a lot of information, and it could be that I just actually went to this place, but the total of my experience there was maybe like 10, 15 minutes in my entire life. And so somewhere in my brain that it was accessed and manifested as a playback. It was playing back as a dream, but it was really just a memory.
Yeah, I think you can retain memories unconsciously, I should say, if you're sleeping, and subconsciously. Now, in terms of you asking about your eyes recording, not so much the eyes have to do with that, because your sharp vision is very small, straight ahead. It's like a small circle in the middle of your eye that is actually in sharp focus. Your peripheral vision is very much out of focus. So I don't think that the limitation of your eye as a method of gathering data is very very sharp. It's really not. And then everything around in your periphery, which is going to be most of what you see in any environment that you're in, will be out of focus and probably won't result in a lasting memory.
Dave, if this remote dreaming is a thing, how does somebody know they're not just having another one of their off-the-wall dreams? How do you know that this is connected to something else that is purposeful? How do you know that it isn't just, you ate too many burritos or something before bed and now you're having,
Yeah. Well,
kind of excitable dreams?
it's probably less likely that burritos are going to create an entire visual picture in your mind
No, but
about something. But I know what you're trying to say. But no, you don't know. I mean, this is all really just speculation, isn't it? But it is an interesting theory.
well, I know they're focusing more and more on sleep hygiene and the kinds of things
That means you got to take a shower before you go to bed.
you should a couple hours before, because it helps you relax. It helps you begin to unwind from the rigors of your day.
Or smoke a toad.
No, you could smoke a toad and red tobacco. Don't forget the
And
rest of
honey.
the formula with honey in your pipe.
That could become a new catchphrase. That's pretty.
Smoke
That's
That's our good night. I'm going to go smoke a toad.
That's your
Go smoke a toad, will you?
that's your phrase
Oh,
for
brother.
relax.
What have we done?
That's
I told you it was going to be a zoo.
That's the don't worry, be happy. The new don't worry, be happy.
No, now they're saying that cognitive health, I mean, in terms of delaying the onset of any kind of dementia or reducing the likelihood of suffering from dementia in later life has a lot to do with your sleep patterns. And the suggested duration is 6 to 7 hours a night. However, recently they have kind of amended that, and they said that there are certain people who really function just fine and are not taking any sort of harm from sleeping just 4 hours a night, but that's connected to a certain pattern of DNA. So those are separate individuals from the average population who should be striving for 6 hours at the minimum. And to do that, they're saying, you want to avoid caffeine. That makes sense. And that could be in the form of coffee, tea, black teas, caffeinated teas, or caffeinated soda and pops and things like that, and certainly not energy drinks. Even if you work in the early evening, you probably want to stay away from that because that'll take a long time to clear from your system. So they're saying that, avoid blue light in your room.
Really?
Yep. And try not to not to hang out on your bed, where you're watching movies and
How
things
about
on your
red light?
bed.
Can you sleep with a red light?
There
That
are
is
studies.
relaxing, yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
the studies are showing that, but I don't think that's meant for an
I'm
overnight
going to have to revisit
thing.
your red light district, your red light episode.
Yeah, we do need to talk more about that because that's fascinating. And there's quite
Yeah.
a bit of science there. Also, now that you're mentioning in the room, white noise is bad for you. A lot of people sleep with a
Really?
fan going, and you shouldn't do that.
Why?
Does that include stuff like the soundscapes and stuff, like the babbling brooks and the ocean and things like that?
Yeah, but white noise is just a
Just like a
random.
hum or
It's a random bandwidth that includes pretty much all frequencies. And then why it's bad for you? Then there's our studies. You can look this up. That because your brain, when you're sleeping, you have this mechanism that your ears are still working, so that if there's a loud noise or you hear, something really out of the ordinary in the night, you can wake up. That same mechanism is trying to make sense out of the white noise and thinking, it's analyzing all the time if it might be a noise that they need to react to and wake up and take care of something. Because those higher bandwidth frequencies are in that same range that your brain is kind of keeping your ears open a little bit for danger.
So your
What
brain's
would
always
you
working.
replace it with?
Pink noise or brown noise, and you can get
Pink noise is so
generators.
pretty.
Yeah.
What is pink
it's only
noise?
for girls.
Sexist. Oh boy, here we
What are you
go.
doing in that room? Are you listening to pink noise again?
With keys under his pillow and a horseshoe.
Yeah, and I don't mean listening to Pink Floyd, although that would be very relaxing also.
And it'd also be a great name for a band.
Yeah, it probably is one.
It probably is one.
Pink noise, Floyd.
So anyway, instead
Hey,
of, you
I
have
think
to
we got something, guys.
Oh no.
There are some fans that you can control well, I know there's speed settings on any fan, right? But some have a rheostat, and you can finely tune the frequency of the electricity that's running it, so it makes a lower sound.
But does it read out as what it's going to sound like, or just how fast
Well,
the
you just
blades
hear
are going to
it.
move air?
Yeah, it changes the speed of the fan, of course, but in doing that, it also has a lower frequency that it's putting out.
You want to hear something bizarre about some white noise that I always liked?
What?
That always made me sleepy. It sounds so bizarre. Vacuum cleaning.
Really?
Yeah, I would listen if I could. If I had a tape, I thought about doing it, making a tape of vacuum cleaning and listening to that.
Yeah.
But
Well, that
Did
makes
it-
a little bit of sense, actually, because they do have a more lower frequency element to that sound.
It also might have been comforting to you as a little kid to hear your mom vacuuming or your dad vacuuming and know that your parents were there. It was a usual day at home.
this was yesterday.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm just
Then
kidding.
that we can.
But I
throw
also
that.
like the smell of gas when I'm pumping it, which makes no sense. So.
Oh my God, I hate that.
Yeah, I don't know about
that
that.
smell is
If they made a
horrible.
cologne
Cologne?
that smelled like gas, you know how much you would
Oh,
sell.
the motorheads would love that.
I know.
The women love that.
No, I can honestly say one time when I was expecting my first child, I got into a taxi cab and the taxi cab driver was smoking a cigar and he had just filled the tank and the smell was so bad in there, I thought I was going to die. You're just so
And it was just his cologne.
hypersensitive. But if it was his cologne, I might have said something. Sir,
No,
excuse me, let me
I
out at the
understand that.
next corner.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I was only remotely pregnant at the time.
Yes.
And you didn't like that. Okay. Good. We
That's a
agreed.
good-
We agreed.
I
on
like
something.
that term now for a guy remotely pregnant.
Hey, you know what? There have been recent experiments, I'll call it experiments, where they have strapped, get this, a watermelon to the front of a prospective daddy. And
Yeah.
he goes around like that with that strapped to him for a day or two. And most of them come away with a very heightened
Well, I think
respect for what goes
Well,
into
I think
carrying them.
then it's only
Sure.
fair that a woman should also have a watermelon strapped to her when she's pregnant.
But they
Yeah.
do.
No, he thinks
Hopefully
in
you won't give
addition.
birth to one.
In addition,
In addition, just to be
you'd have to go through a doorway very, very carefully, and all of this.
I've also seen this, I guess you could call it sort of sensitivity training. Was that fair? With trying to understand, what other people go through. In this case, the gender difference, but also guys wearing a bra with small watermelons in there.
yeah. And what if you
I'm
don't
thinking,
like
oh my
watermelon?
God,
you know?
this is so uncomfortable. And they say, yeah, see what we go through.
Well, you know what? The long and short of it for me is just take care of everybody. If you see it, if
Exactly.
you see a person who's got a lot of
Watermelon.
watermelon, help them out, open a door. If you see ladies with little kids or pregnant ladies or something, just open the door.
I always do that.
it, and it isn't a gender thing. It's just this is a human being. Let's show as much grace as we can.
Absolutely.
I know just a little while ago, not that many years ago, there were some women who were saying, "Oh, that's sexist. That's suggesting that I can't
Chivalry
open a
is
door
sexist.
myself." Well, you know what? It shouldn't be sexist. It should be
Sexy.
let's just address
It's all in the wrist.
what
yeah.
needs to happen in this moment right now to make things as good as we can for each other. And I think that should be the test of whether something is right or wrong. Is this really harming someone, hurting someone? Is this behavior or this rule or whatever it is it inspired by a loving attitude toward my fellow humans?
And I know-
if it isn't, then it's
I know
probably
this
not
has-
very good in the long run.
I know
I
we're probably
agree.
way
I
off
agree with that.
topic now, but that does remind me. I remember just recently thinking about it, about when I'm going into a store or something, and about how many people do hold doors open for other people. They do it for me. I do it for them.
Yeah.
And it all walks of life, different people, strangers, just doing that and saying thank you and stuff, and it's
do find
so
that
bizarre.
the South is really good about that, actually. And now that we're older, I get held open for me, even though I'm not female. But yeah, it's just a basic politeness.
Oh, it makes all the difference. The ones I see that struggle the most getting in and out of doorways are women that are pushing those little strollers. The stroller isn't monstrous or anything like that, but to do it by yourself, you have to move off to the side, line up the stroller with the door, allow for the swing of the door if it swings out.
Do you check to
then
see if there's
maneuver-
really a baby in there or a watermelon?
or a poodle. Hey, you know what we saw that was kind of cool? We were in a restaurant with our grandson, and there was a skunk. A lady had a skunk in one of those little strollers that has the mesh all over it. It's like for keeping your cat or your puppy or whatever in there. But this lady had a skunk. Now, I'm presuming that skunk had been distinct, but
I
not,
think that would put
not
the-
instinct or extinct, but distinct. And it was eating a little piece of corn.
Skunks eat corn?
I think a restaurateur would be a little bit skeptical of
And
that.
what can I get your skunk, ma'am? Is there some kind of goal or purpose behind remote dreaming? Is there something that you can use it for, that when they're doing these experiments with it and stuff? Any idea what they would
Maybe
use it for?
subconsciously, this is probably just nonsense, but subconsciously, if you're very, very interested in that, would be to try to train your brain before you go to sleep. Like, next time I'm in an environment that has a lot of detail, I'm going to pay close attention in my dream and kind of look around and try to remember certain things that might give a clue about where it is. And whether you remember that from your dream or not, I don't know. But
Are there records that maybe somebody has had a particularly vivid dream like that in connection with maybe a crime that they have heard described in a newscast or something like that? And if they've had this dream that seems out of the ordinary, is that something that they should call in to the police and say, look, I had this weird dream. I've not had it before. It sounds like it was connected to what you're looking for, and what I saw was, and then describe it. Is that something, or would that just invite a lot of...
I think for the most part, that would be completely, utterly disregarded. But, it depends on who you get on the phone, really. But, no, that's true. I mean, you watch TV, you see a bunch of stuff on TV, including different environments and different situations and all that. And that could be the reason for some of what we're talking about here. But it is extremely interesting to consider that possibility and realize that it is a possibility because of all the tests that have been done on remote viewers with positive percentage results.
What do they mean when they say like outer body experiences? I mean, apart from the moment of death and things like that, where they talk about people saying, Dave, do I remember right, albumin in terms of a human psyche? That word.
I don't know.
It just came to my mind. I've heard that, I think, where people who have had like remote dreams or something like that a long time ago, I think I remember that word. So
that's the only thing you remember? What was the connection?
It was as if an essence of a person. It's hard for me to describe what I think that word means, but that's something that'll be interesting. I'll try to look that up and see what I can find. If that's not the right word, what was the word? And it would be something like that.
Something somewhere that doesn't sound appropriate, but interesting. Yeah, I'll do some more research for Dreams 3.
Yeah, for me, dreaming seems to be some gray area between imagination and memory. But there seems like the other element we're talking about is being tuned into some big cosmic data stream or something, where the all past, present, and future kind of all exist simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really quantum, isn't it?
And to remember that, everything is absolutely connected according to science, Some
of us could be from different times and nobody
so there
would know.
is sort of a wire, if you want to think about it that way, to the universe and all other matter and things that we can see. So that is a possibility that you can get information over that connection.
And because you're made of matter, you matter.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know,
Matter.
You need to make T-shirts with that, because I think
matter.
that sounds
You
good.
can say matter matters.
We are closing in on our time for today.
Oh, no, we have to talk about our 50th.
I have to say this. There comes a time in your life, and somebody I really respect said this. There comes a time in your life when your memories become more important than your dreams.
Well, yeah, I think all the time, actually.
Oh, well, never mind.
Well, no, I think it's important to have dreams, i.e.
profound,
goals.
at least.
Something that you hope for. Keep hope alive.
now
Keep
that you've
yourself
reached-
young.
But now that you've reached 50, what's the next goal?
We just want
51.
to say
51,
thanks
Des.
to everybody
Yeah, thank you.
who has checked us out. And, hey, we're going to keep try to keep it going.
Keep chugging, see what we can do.
You need to do a show about. You need to read some of the comments, maybe.
Yeah,
There'll be
we
a lot
will
of
do
comments
that.
on some stuff.
we should do that. Yeah.
We're going to do that coming up. We'll be on the road. Today is our last in studio episode for a while. So
We're
we'll be
carrying a
doing a
remote
lot of
studio with
things.
us, so.
Des is going to take over kitty duties, and we're talking about him staying here. I hope we can talk you into doing that.
We'll see what happens after the polygraph test.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Count your blessings.